Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. Mottek On Money, voice of business news in Los Angeles, live on the air on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And, of course, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, all of your favorite podcast platforms. Stocks ticking higher today, in fact, to record highs with the S&P 500 moving up 15 points at the closing bell. Good enough for a record high for that index. With a record high close of 6,481, the Dow popped 147, and the Nasdaq gained 46. Both of those major averages hovering just below the record highs they achieved just in the last week or so. After the closing bell, AI giant NVIDIA, the so-called Magnificent One of the Magnificent Seven tech stock list. NVIDIA, the world's most valuable company, came in with numbers this afternoon that exceeded analyst earnings expectations. But despite that, the stock pulled back by about 5% in after-hours trading on a narrow revenue miss in a key segment, that is its data center business. The company announced a $60 billion stock buyback. NVIDIA stock closed down 17 cents to $181.60 and has pulled back now about $5 in after-hours trading. Cryptos have cooled off over the past week or so since Bitcoin hit a record high above 124,000. Right now I'm looking at Bitcoin at about 111,000. We've heard some astronomically high predictions of where Bitcoin might be going on the upside, but what about on the downside? We'll get a thorough crypto update later this hour from reporter Jason Nelson at Decrypt Media at decrypt.co. Also this hour, an emphasis on the Main Street economy here in Los Angeles, including a live conversation with Gene SEROKA, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles. He'll be joining me live later this hour. Port of L.A., the busiest container port in North America, which recently reported the highest level of cargo container activity in the port's 117-year history. But first, also focused on Main Street, Los Angeles, and an issue which impacts residents and businesses alike, and that, of course, is crime. And joining us live now is the Honorable Nathan HOCHMAN, the Los Angeles County District Attorney, who was sworn into that position last December after he defeated the soft-on-crime incumbent George Gascon. Nathan HOCHMAN defeated Gascon in a landslide victory, vowing to improve public safety by pursuing appropriate sentences for violent and serious offenders. The Honorable Nathan HOCHMAN, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
It's my pleasure, Frank. Thanks for inviting me.
Honored to have you with us, and thank you for all you've already done to give the streets back to the people and prosecute criminals. So much to talk about today with the recent bust of a robbery ring here in Los Angeles, the shooting incident in South L.A., and even debate going on right now on whether crime is actually up or down here in the Los Angeles area. But first, I have to mention security, we understand, is being increased at schools and houses of worship pretty much nationwide now following today's horrific events at that Catholic school in Minnesota, which the FBI says is being investigated now as a domestic terrorism incident and as a hate crime. What's your reaction to what happened?
I mean, the incident is horrible, Frank. It's tragic, and they're going to figure out, hopefully, in very quick time, what was actually going on. Was it a hate crime? Was it not a hate crime? Was it a type of domestic terrorism, and what was actually motivating the killer, and was the killer operating effectively by himself, or was the killer operating as part of a large group? We have been taking security matters very seriously in this county, certainly since I came in place on December 2024, and even with the churches, synagogues, mosques, temples across this county, they've been taking it seriously before I showed up. They've gotten great support from law enforcement, and now they're getting great support from the DA's office. We're bringing cases where the evidence shows that a hate crime was committed. We don't hesitate to bring the hate crime charge in addition to whatever violent conduct occurred. So I think the message is very clear to the hate criminals out there that if you want to operate in L.A. County, there will be severe consequences for your actions.
On the air live with the Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan HOCHMAN. And certainly at a federal level, we've seen the administration put its foot down on anti-Semitism, and we saw those horrific incidents here in the Los Angeles area in the last year or so. And what about that and just overall your approach to these hate crimes are related to anti-Semitism as well as other houses of worship here?
My approach to these hate crimes is as follows. If people want to engage in protected, peaceful First Amendment speech, respecting time, place, and manner restrictions, we'll protect that right. In fact, we'll fiercely protect people's First Amendment right to engage in that type of speech. However, when they go from protected speech and cross the line into illegal conduct, if they want to, for instance, attack the police that are set to defend people who are engaging in legitimate First Amendment conduct, if they want to go after worshipers, whether it's people who are trying to enter a Jewish synagogue, whether it's Muslims trying to enter a mosque or a Muslim center, whether it's any member of faith, religion, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, if they cross into illegal conduct, we will go ahead and prosecute. This is the one and only warning. There is no slap on the wrist. There is no, hey, it wasn't prosecuted before, don't prosecute it now. I've been crystal clear that in my administration, if we get a case where illegal conduct, the evidence shows illegal conduct occurred, we're going to prosecute that illegal conduct. And hopefully, again, with lines that are reset, with accountability now the hallmark of how we are approaching this problem, people will both feel supported in engaging in legitimate First Amendment speech, but also understand that if they do cross that line, there will be serious consequences to pay.
On the air live with Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan HOCHMAN. It's been wonderful to see you at various business events recently and on the business front, and you're speaking to the business audience here. Certainly, tell us how you've turned around the retail crime situation. And I know you had a big announcement recently related to the takedown of a burglary crew responsible, is believed, for dozens of residential burglaries and probably business burglaries as well. Give us an update on what's happening on that front.
Yes, in the last week, I participated in 2 different press conferences. The first was with the LAPD and the mayor, where we announced the taking down of an arrest of 8 members of the Rich Rolling burglary crew. They were responsible, they estimate, for over 90 different burglaries and robberies throughout LA County in the last 2 years, focusing mostly in West Los Angeles. They were a pretty sophisticated crew, and we not only took down the actual burglars, we took down the fence as well, the person who they were giving the stolen goods to turn into money. And in doing that, LAPD used very sophisticated surveillance techniques, a lot of technology, the sort of just a hard pound in the pavement type of detective work that you expect of LAPD, and they brought in this particular case to take all 8 members of this crew down. Yesterday, I participated up with the Ventura County DA's office in the takedown of another crew. This was a crew that basically was going after Home Depots. In 2025 alone, they had engaged in over 600 burglaries of Home Depots, 71 Home Depots across 5 counties, primarily in LA County. The Ventura County District Attorney's Office, working with the Ventura County Sheriff, actually was very instrumental in taking down this whole organization. And they not only took down what they call the booster crews. Those are the crews that go out to the Home Depots and steal what was mostly electrical items, ranging somewhere between $1,000 and $7,000. They took down 2 levels of fencers, both people doing it in a brick and mortar store and people doing it online. So it was a serious takedown. They estimate that there was over $10 million of Home Depot products taken during this course of their actions. They recovered millions of dollars when they took down the fences. And that is the message. The message is, if you commit this burglary or robbery of either a residence or a commercial business, and we don't get you in the first day, we don't even get you in the first week or month, the LAPD, law enforcement, is relentless. They're going to keep putting in the work. They're going to keep after you. And again, in some of these cases, it literally took years to finally get the crew and bring them down, but they brought them down.
On the air live with the Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan HOCHMAN. We haven't heard about too many smash and grabs lately. The retail crime wave seems to have subsided. What's the story on prosecuting shoplifters these days?
It's interesting. With Proposition 36 that came online when I got elected in November of 2024 and came officially online in December of basically a month later, in December of 2024, we have brought over 1,700 Proposition 36 felony cases against people with 2 or more theft convictions who now went back to the well and stole a third time, or in some cases, many more times beyond the 2 convictions. For years, they had only gotten misdemeanor prosecutions when they even got prosecuted at all. Very often, if they even got arrested, they'd be arrested in the morning, back on the streets in the afternoon. Now under Proposition 36, they're looking at felonies, they're looking at state prison, and they're looking at being detained and having bail set at a meaningful level rather than just being cycled through the system in the same day. So I think it's been a major tool that we've been able to use to take off the people who basically, they estimate about 10 to 15% of the criminals are committing over 50% of these theft crimes. So in this situation, because we're going after these repeat offenders, we're getting an opportunity to really, hopefully, make a meaningful mark in burglaries across this entire county.
On there live with the Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan HOCHMAN, we did see that horrible shooting incident at a shopping plaza on South Figueroa Street in Manchester just in the last day or so. Any updates on what's happened there, and what is your message to store owners, business people here who still have to encounter situations like this?
Again, another tragic situation. That investigation is ongoing. It's actually too preliminary to talk about the results or the techniques that are being used in that investigation. Again, we're doing our best in the DA's office that when we get that report, we turn that into filed charges, and we do it in a very, very timely manner. We work with law enforcement to make sure that they bring us cases that can meet our evidentiary standard, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. So again, I will tell you that law enforcement is fully invested in dealing with that particular situation. We'll see how, as far as the timing works out. But again, another tragic situation.
Certainly, and business people still wrestling with crime as well as homelessness. Remember doing the debate that we did during the campaign, which you successfully ran with a large field of candidates and the race for the Los Angeles County District Attorney. And certainly the issue of homelessness did come up. And I remember one of the candidates even had suggested maybe setting up a homeless department within the LA County DA's office. So what are your thoughts on the homeless issue?
So on my day one, I listed homeless crime as one of the top 6 priority areas for the DA's office. What we did immediately is I reversed a series of special directives that Gascon had promulgated, where he effectively said that the DA's office would no longer prosecute quality of life misdemeanor crimes. These are everything that you see in a homeless encampment, whether it's vandalism, whether it's trespass, whether it's criminal threats, whether it's prostitution, whether it's low-level violence. Gascon had a policy saying none of the prosecutors could bring these charges. I reversed that policy. And what I did is I said, look, go back to looking at each case individually. I've called this the hard middle approach. Look at the individual defendant and the defendant's background, the crime committed and the impact on the victims and the community. And in the right case, you bring that case and you seek, state prison or jail. And even in the situations where we're not going to seek state prison or jail, the person has to be held accountable. So in a homeless situation, we'll make sure that, look, if a person needs to get into a mental health diversion program, they're not doing any good committing crimes in a homeless encampment on the street. They sadly have to go through the criminal justice process, which is the only way they'll get proper mental health treatment. And if that's the way we have to deliver it, that's the way we will. What we won't do is pretend they're not committing crimes. We'll pretend they're not hurting other individuals, pretend they're not destroying the quality of our community, and do nothing about it. That is completely unacceptable. So hopefully, in partnership with every other organization, both government and non-governmental, that is working on the homeless situation, we can again make a serious dent in this issue.
Well, we have this honor. Any other big differences between you and Gascon, who was viewed as putting in a pro-criminal policies? Tell us about some of the other big differences since you've come into office.
Well, probably the biggest difference is that I've been able to reestablish the morale in the DA's office. If you recall, these are the prosecutors who voted 98% to support their Gascon's recall. I've basically gone back to trusting these prosecutors. They bring collectively thousands of years of prosecutorial experience to the job. And what I said is whatever resources you need from me, that my job is to maximize the greatest resource of the DA's office, which is the prosecutors. And so I've been able to reestablish that esprit de corps, also then transfer to make sure I reestablish the trust with law enforcement. Tens of thousands of law enforcement officers basically believe that the prior DA, Gascon, was more interested in prosecuting them than he was in partnering with them. I've done my best to make sure that law enforcement knows that the DA's office is back in business, so they do their job, we'll do our job. And as far as victims go, throughout this entire community, I've met with tons of business organizations, from your biggest, from your Walmarts, your Home Depots, your Targets, down to basically the mom and pop stores in Koreatown, little Armenia, a little Tokyo. I've been in Latino areas, African American areas, Chinese American areas, Vietnamese American areas, all over this entire county with the same message. We're going to do our best to bring back safety because we're going to go back to prosecuting criminals. We'll do it in a smart way. We'll do it with common sense, but we're going to make sure that people understand that message of safety and accountability is back. Along that way, we actually have been giving out 6 by 6 inch window stickers that businesses can actually apply to the window of the door when people enter their store. And it's a very simple message. It says, warning, this is a protected business. Theft will be prosecuted effectively, so don't engage in it. And we've given out 10,000 of these window stickers for free to businesses across this entire county. And again, it is sending the message to deter the criminals from committing the crimes in the first place, which is our ultimate goal.
And before I let you off the hook, I know this debate seems to be raging right now. Is crime up or down in Los Angeles right now?
Statistically, crime is down. But for the people who actually, my father used to say that nobody is 3.7% unemployed. If you're unemployed, you're 100% unemployed. If someone breaks into your house or breaks into your business, it's not any comfort that the statistics show that burglaries and robberies are on a downward arc, because for you, that's 100% of a break-in. You don't care that now that they're at, we're at lower levels than we have been at for years. So, the message to the people who are experiencing these break-ins is we get it. We're working every day to send this strong, deterrent, consequential accountability message to the would-be criminals to stay out of L.A. County, because no longer do you get that free pass. Now you're held accountable for your actions. And so we're hoping by every day, literally every day, whether we have to arrest, the people in these gangs and crews, whether we basically send the message to the fencers out there, when we send the message to the hackers out there that are trying to hack businesses, the same message overall. Stay out of L.A. County or face the consequences.
The Honorable Nathan HOCHMAN, the Los Angeles County District Attorney, thank you very much for that comprehensive and powerful update here. We'll keep an open line to you on any matters related to the business community, and thank you very much. We'll let you get back to your important work. And again, thank you very, very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
My pleasure, Frank. Thank you for allowing me to speak to your listeners this afternoon as well.
Thank you very much, and look forward to our next conversation here live on the air on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Record-shattering day on Wall Street with the S&P 500 closing up 15 points, good enough for a record high to 6,481. The Dow popped 147 points at 45,565. It stands just below its all-time high, which was achieved last Friday. And the NASDAQ gained 46 points at 21,590. It, too, below its recent all-time high. The yield in the 10-year note, 4.24%. NVIDIA, taking the spotlight after hours, had closed down 17 cents at 181.60, pulling back about $5 now at 176 and change on its earnings news, which came out this afternoon. Looks like NVIDIA did set fresh sales records as the world's most valuable publicly traded company. The Magnificent One, as it's known, on the Mag 7 list, continue to capitalize on strong demand for AI computer power and move beyond the uncertainty surrounding its business in China. The Wall Street Journal reports sales in the July quarter hit $46.7 billion, up 56% from the year earlier period and roughly in line with what analysts expected. Revenue from the important data center segment, which includes sales of the company's most powerful chips used to train and refine AI models, also rose 56% to $41.1 billion, but came in slightly lower than what analysts had expected. NVIDIA shares pulling back in after-hours trading because of the narrow miss of revenue forecast for its data center business. I talked extensively about NVIDIA yesterday with Dan Ives, the top tech analyst at Wedbush. If you want to review what he had to say, he's still a NVIDIA bull. You can bring up the Mottek On Money podcast from yesterday at kbc.com. And we'll, of course, have extended coverage of NVIDIA again tomorrow. Looks like a surging demand from the fast-growing AI industry is largely responsible for NVIDIA's strong results as software companies like OpenAI, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and Meta continue to train more powerful AI models. They continue to buy large quantities of NVIDIA chips. Sales growth has offset hiccups with China. Sales of the company's new Blackwell line of graphics processing units, its most powerful chips, increased by 17% compared with the previous quarter. Chief Executive Jensen Huang, the king there at AI, said the company named Disney, Hitachi, Hyundai Motor, and SAP as among its first customers for one of its Blackwell Edition servers. Turning to Bitcoin now, it's pulled back about $900 here at $111,250. ETH down 91 at 45.04. Doge at the moment at 22 cents. And now the latest news on 790 KBC.
Welcome to NFL Flag.
Are you ready? Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah!
No matter who you are, lace up your cleats, smear on your eye black, step out on the field and chase something. Chase a goal.
Let's get it.
Chase the big time.
Get down, ladies.
Chase rings. Chase gold medals. Chase all of it. It's all up for grabs now. NFL Flag. Chase something. Visit NFLflag.com to find a league and start the chase today.
Hey there. I'm Paula Pant, host of the Afford Anything podcast. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible because let's face it, money's too important to wing it. From investing strategies to economic trends to savvy travel, lifestyle design, and beyond, we're in this journey to financial independence together. Remember, you can afford anything, just not everything. So, afford anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KBC. Crypto's wild ride continues with Bitcoin coming off its recent all-time high, above 124,000. Right now it's around 111,000. Ethereum has seen an impressive rebound recently, but it too has pulled back to around 4,500 or so. Tracking all of this very, very closely. Joining us live now is Jason Nelson, reporter at Decrypt Media, decrypt.co. Jason, thank you very much for coming to the line here this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, give us an update here. Bitcoin at around 111. After it hit that record high recently, we've seen some astronomical predictions on where it might be going on the upside. Also, a lot of talk today about where it might be going on the downside. Give us an update there. What's your view of what's happening with the price of Bitcoin?
Well, it's been, like you said, it's been a rough week for Bitcoin. Over the last week or so, it went from about $124,000, its latest all-time high, to about 111,287 right now. That's a pretty steep drop, and I'm sure it has a lot of people concerned about the market. But this market is volatile up and down, so just as much as it goes down, it's also eventually going to rebound. The only thing that we're seeing right now is analysts are saying that August, September tends to be a low season for cryptocurrency. So they say don't expect it to turn around within the next week or next few weeks or so. But you mentioned Ethereum, and we do have some analysts who are pretty bullish on what Ethereum's doing, with one even saying it could even top $7,000 7,500 before the end of the year.
On the live with Jason Nelson at decrypt.co, one of the authoritative crypto websites for news on crypto, and we always appreciate your updates here. So let's go right down the list here. Solana also getting new attention, right? And Doge, of course, which was Elon Musk's favorite. We haven't heard him talk about Doge lately, but Doge is at 22 cents. Anything else that's popping out in the crypto space?
I think the fact that Solana is one of the major cryptocurrencies pumping at the moment does say something about where we're going as far as altcoins. We're also seeing AI tokens going up. Recently, Numenaire, the token of the Numerai company, went up almost 100% today. And that was just on the announcement that there may be some type of investment from JP Morgan with them. And then as a sign of, rising tides lifting all boats, a bunch of other AI tokens started going up as well.
What's the one that went up 100%, you said?
It's called, the token is called Numenaire. The name of the company is Numerai, and the ticker is NMR. And it went ballistic over the last 24 hours.
Well, we keep expanding our vocabulary here, so thanks for pointing that one out. Looks like the bank stocks hitting record highs today, by the way. What do you see ahead for the banks as it relates to crypto? Or are we going to see the tellers start talking about crypto when we go to the banks?
As more regulation gets passed, I'm fairly certain you're going to start seeing that. Of course, weeks like this don't help any. So you're going to have a lot of people probably saying cautiously optimistic things about crypto at the moment. But, like I said, the market, it's volatile in both ways. So I wouldn't write it off just yet. But at the same time, I would be very careful where I put my money right now.
All right. Well, that sounds like always a good idea. And you're also watching what's happening with these crypto-related equities, Bitmine and Strategy, right? And Bullish had that big IPO recently. It hasn't lived up to its name every day. It would pull back today by a couple of dollars to 63 and change. And Circle Internet Group, all these various Bitcoin miners too. Anything catching your attention among the equities here?
Well, just the fact that Strategy has maintained its position of not selling any of its Bitcoin. Like, a lot of people, when they see what Bitcoin did this week, their first impulse might be to sell it. But Michael Saylor has been very adamant that he has no intention of ever selling his Bitcoin, which, if you're in that circle of Bitcoiners, you're probably going to follow his lead and see where this goes. Other cryptocurrencies that may start to see some type of movement could include the Crypto.com CRO token, because Trump Media said they may be investing in a treasury of that. You have other companies, they're making treasuries out of BNB tokens. There's even companies saying they're going to invest in Litecoin. So it's not it's not over yet. It just shows how decentralized and diversified this market really is.
One of the eye-popping predictions on where Bitcoin could go is the one made by Kathy Wood's firm, ARK Invest, right? Predicts Bitcoin could surge to 1.5 million per coin by 2030. Did that prediction get your attention? And what are some of the other astronomical predictions that have come across your desk there?
You hear bullish predictions like that in crypto often. There's even been, there could be a $1 million Bitcoin in relatively soon. But if you look at the way the market's been behaving, I would not use that mentality as the reason why I would invest in Bitcoin. I think the hype cycle might be dying down, so you might start hearing less of that kind of talk and more reasonable, measured conversation.
It goes up and it goes down. So we talked to the biggest fans of crypto here, by the way, and still some of the harshest critics still around. So, Jason, thank you very much for chiming in on what's happening in the crypto space and a lot going on here. Jason Nelson, reporter at Decrypt Media at decrypt.co, also active on X, formerly known as Twitter. Jason, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Out to the freeways now, 790 KABC.
Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling take you behind the scenes of one of the greatest shows of all time.
Welcome to oh God, I can't even get it going. Welcome to Talkville, folks.
Where it's fun to talk about Smallville. I don't think you really know what you're doing on a television show until you do a podcast about it.
I've learned so much.
So what did we do again? I don't know. Let's rewatch it and do a podcast so we know what we did.
Talkville, the Smallville Rewatch podcast.
Let's get into it.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Joining us live now, Gene SEROKA, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, the busiest container port in North America. Gene SEROKA, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Frank.
Looks like you got some big news there on container activity. I understand you've shattered records there. Give us an update on what's happening there at the port.
Well, Frank, it's been a roller coaster of a year with trade policy and tariffs emanating out of Washington, but the Port of Los Angeles has answered the bell every time. And in the month of July, we had our all-time best month in the 117-year history at the Port of Los Angeles. Over 1 million container units moved in and out by these great dock workers at the ILWU.
Well, congratulations on that. That is very, very big news. And so what's happening? Are goods coming in before the tariffs kick in, or what's been happening there?
That's what we've seen. There have been more than 100 announcements on trade policy from Washington since January, Frank. And every time hard policy goes in, cargo volume plummets. When that policy is eased and deadlines are extended, we see pickups in cargo volume. And that's exactly what we witnessed dating back to the month of May, where imports plummeted by 19%. Back half of June soared, and July was that all-time record. August looks good right now from an import volume standpoint, but after that, I believe will show to have enough inventory in the country where the back end of the year may be a little bit lighter than we're normally used to seeing.
Isn't that something that there were predictions or I guess indications that port activity had slowed to even worse levels than during COVID for a while there, right?
And that was the month of May, the last time we spoke on air, Frank. And then deadlines were changed. Policy was eased. Tariffs emanating from China were dropped by 75%. Cargo started to pick up again. And that's simply what business has been asking for. Tell us the rules, and we'll play to them. Let us know specific dates, and we'll understand how we have to run our business. That's been the elusive part so far.
On the air live with the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles, Gene SEROKA. There were concerns, I think, last time we spoke that there could be empty shelves for the holidays and all that. Is that still a concern? Are things coming in, and what's the holiday season looking like here?
It's my view that we'll still see higher prices and fewer selections because retailers aren't gambling. They're not bringing in so much inventory that they'll have to perform different looks towards the end of the year and even mark down with deep discounts on products that don't sell. So looking at the consumer and our willingness to buy is the biggest question on the retailer's mind right now.
On the air live with the director of the Port of Los Angeles, Gene SEROKA. Looks like the India tariffs have kicked in. President Trump has hit India with 50% tariffs. So what impact, if any, are you seeing at this point?
Although India is not a large origin country for the Port of Los Angeles, it still gets felt. Because similar to steel tariffs, Frank, if they're raised on imports, domestic steel prices will rise up as well. So tariffs in one sector or segment will cause price increases in others. That's the knock-on effect of the policy.
And you're still watching what's happening with China. That dust still has not settled, right?
That's right. The effective tariff is still 55%. I've got an auto parts importer here in the South Bay area that keeps me posted on his cargo business. that is supplied to Ford Motor Company, General Motors, and Chrysler. Last week, he had containers land at the Port of Los Angeles. The effective tariff on his products was 97%. That's a 97% tax, or effectively doubling the cost of his products that are coming out of China for those big three car makers.
On the live with Gene SEROKA, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles. I want to ask you another story that's come up this week. The LA City Council calling on the Port of Los Angeles police to join community members in documenting federal immigration enforcement activity in the harbor area with the goal of collecting evidence that could be submitted in court. This according to the Daily Breeze. Give us your reaction to that news.
There has not been one incident on the Port's Harbor District property of 7,500 acres, and I give great credit to Head of Public Safety and Port Police Chief Tom Gazy. We're following law and procedures that have been in place here in the state of California and city of Los Angeles since the 1970s. Our Port Police, the finest in the nation, will maintain those postures.
Thank you for that. And more cruise ships coming into the Port of L.A. Can you give us an update on what's happening there with, of course, Princess Cruises still based here in the Los Angeles area?
Frank, another exciting part of our business here at the Port of Los Angeles. We expect 240 ships to call here in L.A. by the end of this year, and we will more than likely exceed our all-time record of 1.3 million passengers. This business is going so well that we're in negotiations now with the awardee to the new Outer Harbor Cruise Terminal, a $500 million project led by the Port of Los Angeles to accommodate these large ships, upwards of 5,000 passengers that want to make L.A. home. Super excited about this and can't wait to get started on the work for that Outer Harbor Cruise Terminal.
That is very exciting. And I know from speaking to people in the cruise business, they're clamoring for bigger facilities to get the bigger ships in. But it looks like you've got some new ships coming into the Port of L.A. now.
Oh, that's right. The Ovation to the Seas, as we talked about last time, had come in, and folks calling this the home port opportunity for the Ovation. She was just in port yesterday and sailed at 4 o'clock, headed down to the Mexican Riviera, so a regular rotation, and the support we've had from Princess for over 50 years now cannot be underscored. That great, iconic 1970s show, The Love Boat, was filmed right here at Berth 92, and that partnership with Princess continues today.
That's wonderful. Those reruns are very motivating to get people still on those ships. So that is very wonderful news. Well, thank you very much for that comprehensive update. We'll keep an open line to you on all the exciting things happening there at the port. Of course, one of the big economic engines here over Los Angeles. That is Gene SEROKA, the executive director of the Port of Los Angeles. Thank you very much for taking the call live with us here this afternoon.
Always a pleasure to join you, Frank. Talk soon.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. Recapping our top story, the S&P 500 at a record high today at the closing bell of 15 points, good enough for a record high at 6,481. The Dow up 147 at 45,565, just below its all-time high. And the NASDAQ also rallying today of 46 points, 21,590. That index, too, near its recent all-time high. The yield in the 10-year note at 4.24%. NVIDIA taking the spotlight, and after hours trading, the stock pulling back now by about 3%, down more than $5 at $176 and change. It had closed down 17 cents at $181.60, despite coming in with, for the most part, better than expected earnings news after the closing bell today. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang, and I'll be back with more at 4 tomorrow afternoon right here on Mottek On Money on 790 KBC.
Former U.S. Navy SEAL Sean Ryan captures real stories about sacrifice and strength.
Looking back, what would you tell your 10-year-old self?
Just hold on. The amount of times that this man is threatened to shoot me.
There's a saying, there's no atheist in a foxhole.
That's what I hear.
Uncovering truth with the heroes who live to tell it.
You had a guardian angel.
I did.
Why did you think that?
So many things happened that I just come out okay.
The Sean Ryan Show.
Go ahead, pull that trigger.
You ready?
I'm ready, brother.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.